Before we get to today's show, we just want to apologize. We know we're a couple days late, but we were experiencing a few technical difficulties. We'll try to get those sorted out in the future so this doesn't happen again. Well, enjoy the episode. Welcome to Coffee Side Chats. I'm Malik,
I'm Janelle.
and this is a show where we talk about kind of any and everything, whatever comes to our mind, whatever we're feeling like talking about for the day. So, what are we talking about today, Janelle?
Today we're going to talk about never-ending lists of recommendations from other people. That's such a broad topic, but that's what we're going to talk about because that's what we want to talk about today.
Sounds good. So, what are you drinking?
I'm actually not drinking anything today. I'm having ice cream,
Ah,
chocolate chip cookie ice cream from Uncla, and it's quite good. But yeah, I didn't feel like having coffee today, which is weird.
hmm.
I
It is
wanted
strange.
it at like noon, but not now.
Ah. Well, I am drinking coffee.
What are you drinking?
Sprouts version of Donut Shop, which everyone has their own, and Sprouts version is pretty good. Kind of surprised. Usually it's over roasted from a lot of places, and I kind of hate it, but this is good.
I've never heard of a donut shop version, but
Yeah.
that sounds very interesting. What makes it a donut shop version?
I have no idea. I don't have, but that's what it's called.
Alrighty then. That sounds very interesting. Okay, so yeah, talking about lists. This kind of came up because I just had one of our mutual friends came up from California and she visited me. And we went through the Pal City of Books in Portland. And the whole time we were in there, we were talking about all these books that people had recommended to us. And the list is so long. So we're recommending books to each other and we're recommending books or like listing off books that other people had recommended to us. And there was no way we could even just go look for all of those books, let alone read all of those books. But yeah, what for you is like the long list of just never ending? What's on that list for you?
So I have two with the same subject, essentially restaurants to try. So I lived in Austin for a long time, 8 years, and didn't even get a tenth of the way through the list because every time I would knock one or two or three places off, another four or five or six would get added to the list. And it's like,
Hmm.
oh my goodness, it's a constant flow of places that everyone's like, oh, you must try this or must try that. They have really good this or that. And the same is kind of happening in San Antonio. No, I haven't been to Pasha's yet, but
I've been recommending that for a whole year.
but it just keeps adding up just the same. And I've resolved to just not ask anybody where where I should eat. I just won't ask anymore because it just keeps growing and I won't catch up if I keep asking.
I remember you sent me your list. And so we would always try to find somewhere else to go. It's like, wait a minute. Malik sent me a list. I'm just going to go address that. And so one day we did. And we tried three places that were either closed or weren't there anymore or we couldn't find them. And so we ended up just at P. Terry's again.
That's great.
But we tried. We really tried to knock some off the list and did not successfully knock any of them off.
See, and that's the thing with food places, especially in Austin, where a lot of places just close out of nowhere.
Hmm.
They'll be really good for a long time, or there'll even be franchises that suddenly they have decided the Austin market isn't vibrant enough for them, and they'll just close. And I have to go back and update the list every now and then for places that are closed, which always makes me sad because I get upset. I don't actually get to try them before they go out of business.
Yeah. That's always really frustrating. It's like you have to try it as soon as somebody recommends it, which is impossible. That's so much money too.
Yeah,
Like I wonder if
especially.
you could it would take me forever. But I wonder if I went through the list of recommendations people gave me and figured out how much it would cost, how expensive that list is.
Oh man, the Austin one would have to be easily like $1,500. Like I know it's because even if I just got a little bit here or there at each place, I mean it was so long, and some of the places were not so on the not so cheap. Some of them were serious, you really have to be committed to this list
Mm.
kind of places. So yeah. So another list that actually has continually grown for me is books. I know you were talking about how many book recommendations you were getting. I have a shared Amazon wish list with you about books, and I haven't even added a lot of these books in my notes on my phone to that list, which is crazy
Yes.
because the list is only getting longer. I think there are maybe 15 or 20 books in that list right now, and there are more to add to it.
Yeah, it was a really long list. I
Um,
have to be very selective about the books I add to my Amazon wish list because I know my mom probably will buy me at least one for a birthday or Christmas. And I don't have room for all of them. My bookshelves are already packed. I still don't know how I brought this many books to Oregon. Um, so putting it on the wish list is a very different story from putting it on a recommended list. So if I find it in the library, which I haven't visited in a long time and I feel like a terrible person, then I can go through the list and be like, oh, this one was recommended. I'm going to spend 2 weeks attempting to read this.
Attempting is right.
The beauty of libraries is you don't have to own the books. And it gives you like a set time of you are expected to read this book within 2 weeks. So get to it, read the book, bring it back. If you're not going to finish it in 2 weeks, you better just take it off the list because you're never going to read it. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah, that's a good. It's also another good rule. Books, they need rules because there are too many of them to read. Yeah, movies is a very deep hole for me because I have what four different lists with movies in them. One movies I don't have, so when I go to like newer movies that I want to buy, I have those in a list by themselves, though, so that when I go to the store, I can look and say, okay, I don't have this one, check it off, and I can buy it. Right. So there's that list. And then I have just overall movies to get that are mostly older movies that you're going to be really hard pressed to find in a store on the shelf anymore, just because, they're from early 90s.
Do you use Goodreads?
I do not, but I have heard it's very good.
It's very good in the fact that you can very easily share what you're reading, keep track of what you're reading, um, and that kind of thing. But it makes it too easy to a certain extent to where people are recommending books all day, every day. I only have like 8 friends on it, and there are new recommendations every single day. I don't check it because I can't handle it.
That sounds really, really intense. I just downloaded it.
I have so many books in my own library that have been essentially recommended to me by either people buying them for me or literally just handing them to me and saying, "Here, you borrow this, read it, tell me what you think." Um, and me buying books for myself that I pick up in bookstores like Powell's, where I'm like, "Oh, this sounds so interesting, I have to." And so then I walk away with 5 more books. I'm like, shoot, I'm still behind on all the books I'm currently reading. It takes so long to get through them. And it just keeps growing, like with the restaurant thing. As soon as I finish one book, in the time it took me to finish that book, I've had 5 other book recommendations.
It's,
Or I'll hear about them on a podcast. And so they'll talk about, oh, so and so wrote this book, and then I'll listen to the interview with so and so. I'm like, oh, that was really good. Now I really want to read the book. And so I add that to the list, and then it just keeps growing forever.
yeah, speaking of podcasts, oh my
Oh
goodness.
boy.
I have right now 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 15. What's that? 2024 podcast episodes at least that I still need to listen to or watch, and that is not all the ones that I've been recommended. So
Um, that's a lot.
yeah, it's a lot, and I don't typically subscribe to short shows. Typically, they start at an hour and go to up to 2.5 or 3, depending on the topic. So you can imagine how far behind I can get, you know.
I think I have 25 if I'm reading my lists right. I have a podcast list that's just check it out so I can immediately subscribe to it. Um, or like immediately just go check it out and not have to go through like 8 different channels of, oh, what podcast should I listen to? And then I have another list that's actually just a list before I came up with this idea, and one that's recommended that has another, I don't know, what are we at? 12, 24, 27, 29 podcasts. I have over 50 recommended podcasts, and a lot of them come from you. And you do listen to very long podcasts. Oh my
Yes.
gosh.
Very
Mine are
long,
all like
very
an
in
hour and
depth.
15 minutes or less.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I have some, podcasts that are only audio that have been recommended, and then some that are video. So there's two different, I use the Apple podcast app for the video ones, but I use a different one, Overcast, for the audio ones. So I have to remember to go back in between. And there's a Spotify exclusive one that I've been recommended. So I have to go to Spotify for that one. It's so complicated. It's a mess. I wish I could get that regular listen number down to 9. It's probably 16 or that I
Oh my
regularly listen to.
god.
And
How
then there are
often is
the
regular?
uh basically every show they do.
Oh my word.
So most of them are only once a week though. So it's not overbearing. There are a couple that are 3 and 4 times a week, which I think that's just it's too much. It's hard to keep up with those. You get really behind. With the ones that are that often, but the ones that are once a week are not as hard to keep up with.
Yeah, I have like my really regular ones are only once, or not my really, my favorite ones are only once a week, but there are also 2 or 3 dailies that I try to listen to every once in a while. And those ones are dailies and they come out every single day, except I think maybe Saturday and Sunday they take off. Um, but they're really good and really helpful. Oh my gosh. Somebody just recommended another podcast to me right now.
Wow.
But yeah, those ones are like really short and they're like 15, 20 minutes, um, maybe 30 minutes. But I don't spend 30 minutes listening to podcasts every day. And that would be an hour and a half at least of podcasts every single day on top of the ones I want to try to listen to once a week. And it just seems like so much and I can't keep on top of it. And it makes me feel really bad, but I also like want to listen to them. It's this constant struggle of like I want to listen to these things and check out these things that people are recommending to me, but they're just too many that I can't do all of them and live my regular life.
Yeah, see, sometimes I just declare recommendation bankruptcy and just delete them all and
Oh,
start over. It's hard. It's one of the hardest things to do. But, yeah, when a friend recommends you a podcast, you think, okay, this is probably something I would like. But when I have so many once a week, so there are some that come out on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Most of them don't come out on Saturday and Sunday. So Monday through Friday, there's always something that I normally listen to out. So then fitting another one in there when all the normal ones are an hour and a half, it's really difficult. Sometimes I just declare bankruptcy and just call it quits.
oh, that like hurts my heart so bad and it shouldn't, but it does. Like you just delete the whole list.
Yeah, or I'll go and say, okay, I have 12 recommendations right now. Get it down to 4. And so 8 of them will just get deleted altogether. Because I'm not going to get to them. So I don't know what to like, unless my regular shows start, canceling themselves, so if they
Right.
just give up, there's just no room for anything that's not fantastic, anything just, really, especially like the science heavy ones. If those are in there, I typically make room for them. But I have had to cut back on even those, and I really like them. So.
Yeah. Oh, that like I'm going through my recommended list. I'm like, but I don't want to get rid of any of these. I want, mm, I want all of them except 3, and you're gonna hate me, but 2 of them are the ones you recommended.
Okay, out of curiosity, which two is it? Because I have a guess, but
History
go
of
ahead.
Rome and Dan Carlin's Hardcore History. Like, I want to, but I also just, they're so long. And I listened to a lot of the history of Rome while I was still in landscaping. So I'd like pop in headphones and listen to podcasts for like 6 hours while I'm walking behind a lawnmower. Great time to kill podcasts. But
Yep.
his voice made me want to go to sleep. And I couldn't listen to it.
Yeah, I wouldn't say either one of them have the most the best voice for this.
Mm-hmm.
Mike Duncan or Dan Carlin. Um,
And then there's another one where I love what she's doing and I think she does a really good job. But her excitement level about politics is just too high for me. Like she'll be like yelling into the microphone. Um and she does like a whipping sound whenever she curses. And there'll be like 5 whips within a minute.
oh boy.
Okay. I appreciate that you're so excited because someone needs to be excited about what our government is doing and paying attention to what they're doing. I cannot consume what you are giving me because I just can't meet where you are.
Yep, I definitely have a politics podcast that's just like that. He does, I think, 3 shows a week, and I only listen to one of them typically because I can only handle so much. Um, and then, of course, there are TV series, which
I don't keep the list of those. I refuse.
I just started a list, and it's already what's this 22 season series deep. Some of them are still going on. Some of them are, were one season series. So those are going to be the ones that'll be easy for me. I'll go back and just watch those really, in one kind of weekend binge fest. The ones that are 6 and 7 seasons long, that's going to be a different thing.
Hmm. My rule of thumb with TV show recommendations is if 3 different people recommend it to me, then I'll look into it. But if one person one off says, "Oh, I think you'd like it because I really like it," mm, I'm not gonna do it.
That's funny.
But movies, I have the longest list of movies, and I did actually do a recommended list bankruptcy on that one day because I was like, "There's no way I'm ever getting to any of these," and I never go check this list, so just deleted all of them. But now I have a new list, and I actually haven't had anyone add anything to it recently, so don't do that. I highly recommend you don't do that because I will never get to it. But that one is still 9 movies long, and I just got really lazy about adding to it because people would just recommend movies all the time. Be like, "Oh, have you seen this? No, you should watch it." Are you gonna watch it with me? Because otherwise, I won't watch it.
Yeah, it's like you need to come and kind of make me do this, or I'm not going to.
I also have a weird list of. I'm going through this. I just have all of my recommended things in the same note on my phone. I
Okay,
have
that's chaos. What are you doing?
pure chaos, and I tried to organize it one day, and it just because and this was the worst part. I was just putting everything all together, and so I'm gonna read through it real quick, just the first like 5. Can America put itself back together? I have no idea what that is. Vanderpump Rules is a TV show. Dancing Queen, I think, is also a TV show. Essential Craftsman is a uh, not iron worker, blacksmith in Roseburg. Castell Avenue Vision Plan is a New Braunfels city planning program.
Okay.
Letterman and Obama is my next guest needs no introduction is one you recommended to me. That's a Netflix special. Shadow of the Wind, I think, is a book. Really not sure. And it just keeps going. It's all totally random. TV shows, people, um, movies, places, YouTube videos,
Yeah, you're a
articles.
wild child.
Oh my gosh. This is
See,
why I gave up on it.
see, you have to break them out into different notes. That's why I have 7 different notes for these things.
7
So,
different notes. What are your different categories?
well, I have one for books, I have one for TV series, one for movies, one for what's this? If it doesn't fall into a different one of the existing categories perfectly, I just make a new list for it. I have unlimited storage. It's fine. 500. So I just keep adding different lists to everything.
All right, that's probably a better idea because I just refuse to go back to this list now because it's so chaotic and just stresses me out so much. So now people recommend things to me, and I'm like, okay, I'll add that, and then I forget, and then I never do. I should
Yeah.
be better about that.
I even have a separate list for movies that, I go to the store and I like to buy hard discs. So I want a Blu-ray of something. So I have a list of just movies I don't have. Yeah, because at one point I was putting everything into one big pile and it just stopped working for me. So
hmm
I had to do something different. Just something had to give. And because my phone is always with me and my notes just sync across everything, so it's not a big deal for me to just add it. I know it'll show up on my computer or whatever later. So it's the easiest way for me to keep my head on straight.
Uh, Side note: when Katie came, we had this. She had this brilliant idea. We didn't have this brilliant idea. She had this brilliant idea. While we were in the bookstore, each of us bought a book for ourselves that we wouldn't normally buy and gave it to the other person. We're like, okay, so I'm buying it for you, but then you'll give it back to me if you like it. Um, and so now I have Barack Obama's Dreams from My Father, and she has what did I buy for her? Oh shoot, now I don't remember. Dang it, I got her something good. I remember that, and I also bought her, or she bought. We both bought 2 books. Did we both buy 2 books? I guess so. She also got The Things They Carried by Tim O'Brien. That is one of my all-time favorite books. It is the number one book I ever loan out to people. I love it so much.
What's it called again?
The Things They Carried by
Things
Tim
they carried.
O'Brien.
Okay. I'm gonna add that to my list.
You better. I If I ever recommend another book, you say no, Janelle. That was your one recommendation. You got this one, and I will be satisfied.
The things they carried.
So good.
Okay, it's on the dumb list.
How many Amazon wish lists do you have?
Oh, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 18.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, okay.
18?
So I have animated movies, right? There's that one. There's one for just Apple Watch bands, right? Because I want different, more colors and stuff like that. So there's one for that. I have one for backpacks because I'm mildly addicted to buying backpacks. I only have in
I
this
don't think I've
room
ever even seen you
6.
use a backpack.
Yes, but I want them. I have the small gray one that I most recently bought is the one I use the most. But outside of that, I don't use them unless I'm traveling. And then I've replicated the Blu-ray upgrade list. I have stuff I want to add to our bedroom. Board games is its own list. I share a wish list with you about books, and that's just for that one. There's stuff for the car. There are coffee mugs. Obviously, I have a coffee collection. There's coffee stuff in general, like brewing coffee. There's computer and office stuff. I mean, it's yeah. There's a lot.
Oh my word.
But I like them to be as separate as possible because for a while everything was all in one big list, and that's just not manageable. So I ended up, you know, breaking everything up into a little list.
Mm-hmm. I think the lists on Amazon are clunky anyways. So I just threw them all into one list. I'm like, I'm not going to be able to function if there are more because they're just so clunky already. I am not going to be able to do it. So I just drag everything in there and then I go back later. I'm like, okay, of all the things that I put on here, what do I actually want? And if I don't want it 3 months later, then I take it off and I never end up buying anything.
Yeah, I go through my list every, I don't know, probably 6 months because a lot of times stuff will stop being will be discontinued and things like that. So I try to clean it out every now and then. But for the most part, a lot of stuff just sits in there.
Mm.
And those are just the list I have set aside for there. And then on the books front, I have the list I share with you of books I want, and then there's I have a separate list on my Apple Notes that is other books that I have not added to the list yet.
Oh my
So,
word.
and I know you recently were recommended a bunch of books, and it's just
I
yeah.
recommended one book.
No,
Trying
that's
to
it.
do a short.
I said you were recommended a lot of books, not
Oh,
necessarily.
yeah. Sorry. I
Yeah,
misheard. That's my
yeah.
bad. I'm real deaf.
It's, it's, and I know, what'd you say? You in the past you were using what, Goodreads or whatever for book recommendations, and
Yeah.
just gave up on that whole endeavor.
I still have it and I still log in whenever I'm updating what books I've read. Um, but I don't go on Goodreads for recommendations anymore because there are new books coming up every day. Every day, somebody recommends a new book. Um, and so I just can't. I'm like, my list is never going to survive if I pay attention to all of these. It is really handy when I want to go look up reviews because people on Goodreads tend to give better reviews than other places. And I tend to trust those people more, and then I can go find, like, my friend's review of the same book, um, and see if I'll actually like it from that, and so that's super helpful, but the list on that is also kind of clunky, but, I can keep track of what books I've already read, books that I've borrowed from the library, and books that I'm reading at the moment. So that's super
Mm.
helpful, but it's also just another set of lists and more recommendations to go onto those lists. And they just are forever growing. I've got easily over 100 books, probably over 200 books
Good
on a want to
Lord.
read list. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, that's
And then
pretty
I get
tough.
recommendations all the time. And then I'll be listening to a podcast and they'll recommend a book. And so then I have to go read, not go read because I don't read enough as I really should. Or I'll already have 6 books on my nightstand.
Now, this has become a little bit different for me recently. I used to have a very, very long list of music recommendations and artists and, all kinds of things I need to listen to or work with. And say, oh, go listen to this, listen to that. It's like, okay, let's see. But now I have Apple Music. So I just go and download them immediately. So now I don't have any extra lists. It's just on my phone all the time
Hmm.
because it's really easy for me to go find a song, download it, and move on without having to really hunt and look for like the songs on YouTube or whatever to listen to them. Now it's just okay, Apple Music done. I feel like it'll be the same for anybody with Spotify because it's kind of the same thing where okay, I want this song or I want this album, just go get it. I just pay this company of $15 a month or whatever, and I can get this as much as I want. So it's been really, yeah, it's made my music list go down by a lot. There are very few things that aren't on Apple Music or in iTunes or whatever. So it's pretty easy to find anything like that now.
Yeah. I haven't had a really long music recommendation list in a long time. I think I have a list on my phone that's kind of like a playlist that I need to just go find music and make the playlist with it, but it's just like as I think of it, I'm like, oh yeah, this song, write it down. And I don't have time to go open the app, go find the song, make sure it's the right one, add it to the list. Like I'll go in and find it later. So that's like my only list of music right now. But it's another thing where I'm really skeptical of people recommending music to me because I do like a really broad base of music, but I don't generally like the same music other people do. Um, and the same thing happened with my roommate in college. She said nobody ever recommended music that she actually liked. Like 2 people ever did. And I was one of them and I felt like the greatest person in the world. I was so excited. um, but yeah, like if you're gonna recommend music for me, you better really know me because I probably won't put it on the list unless like you play it right there and I like it right there, or I stumble upon it later because it's tossed in with a radio station for another band that I like. Like on Spotify, it'll do um, like Mumford and Sons Radio or something, like whatever song I was
Mhm.
listening to, it'll just keep playing music like that. So unless it pops up in there, I probably won't go look it up. Or unless we're gonna go see a concert together for it because I'm just going to go with you. You're like, oh, we're gonna go watch this band. Then I'll add it to the list and be like, okay, I gotta listen to this band so I know what's going on.
Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense.
Otherwise, I don't know them, and there's no music list. That would be a terrible person. Hope not.
No, it's fine. You don't have to listen to anything. You try not to be mean when people recommend you things, but sometimes you can look at something pretty quickly and know it's a bad recommendation.
Hmm.
And sometimes you just have to break it to people like, yeah, I'm not going to listen to that or I'm not going to watch that.
Yeah, and I totally get that with my own preferences. Like someone the other day was just talking about they needed a bunch of podcasts for a road trip. And so I went through my list of ones that I listen to and I said, okay, which ones will this person actually like? And I kind of filtered it by like, okay, you're asking for a list. This is of my list, the ones I think that you'll like. And with music, I only recommend it if it's something that I've really been listening to a lot lately and I just want somebody else in the world to appreciate it with me. So I'll recommend it to like one person that I think might like it. I'm like, please like it because I want you to like it with me. And with books, I really only ever recommend like 3 or 4 different books. And I have a very short list of these are books that I think everybody should read. And then in my head, I have other books, and I'm like, okay, certain people might.
Yeah.
Like, I would recommend different things for you than for Keelan. And you would probably recommend different things for me than for Melissa.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. That's true. There are a few books that I love that I'm like, there's no way Janelle would even find this 2% interesting.
Yeah.
Lots of heavy sci-fi.
But some people I feel like are recommendation crazy. And they'll recommend certain things to literally anybody. I'm like, are you really gauging your audience? Because you probably should.
Yeah, quite true.
I think I'm more like that with restaurants, though. Like, I'm not going to ask if you like whatever food it is. I'm just going to tell you it's great and you should go.
Well, that's the thing. Like you look at especially places that, you know, are really good restaurants and things like that. Food, out for a lot of people, me included, has a different place. I get much more excited about a really good place to eat than I would say a good movie per se, like, something like that. So I'm just a different, sometimes you really, really want to talk about that food place or that coffee shop.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, to do lists. Do we want to talk about to do lists?
Well, that's something that, with a lot of the other lists, I'm very organized. My to-do list is a mess. It has no rhyme or reason, which kind of defeats the purpose of having a to-do list if it doesn't have a rhyme or reason, but it's just all over the place. And I have multiple to-do lists, but they are all over the place and I don't have any time frames on them really. It's just do these things this month, kind of. So there is that.
Oh, I feel like there's no hope if your to do list is a mess, that my to do lists are going to just always be a disaster. Uh, oh man. I have to do lists for this show, for events I'm organizing, for work, for home, for things I'm supposed to do with friends, for things I'm supposed to get, for things I'm supposed to finish, um, things I'm supposed to organize, lists, how to organize my lists. I'm writing lists all day at work. Like I'll be sitting there working on something, and suddenly my brain's like, "Oh yeah, this thing that you forgot yesterday at 7 o'clock. You're gonna have to do that today when you get home." And I'm like, "Oh shoot, write that down." And so I'll just like scribble it on a piece of paper and then forget to put it somewhere meaningful that I'll remember later.
Oh, of course.
So then the next day, I'm sitting there working on something, and I remember, "Oh shoot, I was supposed to do that." Put it down on the list. So nothing ever gets done.
Yeah,
I don't know how I function.
I'm trying to be more intentional about my to-do list instead of just throwing things in there. I'm going to have to find an app or a organization system for that particular thing that helps me get things done a little bit faster. There is a reason I got the maximum capacity on my phone. Download, download, download. Don't even have to think about it. Just do it. And eventually I'll go back and I'll clean it out later.
Oh, well, you have fun with that. I don't ever want to go back and clean out as much phone space as you have. I'm stressed
Oh,
out trying to think about cleaning out the space I have.
I mean, I have what 512 gigabytes. So typically, even after a year, I'll probably only be at 115, and that's really not that hard to go through because most of it's photo, videos, and stuff. That's kind of easier to go through. And if I really get sick of the apps, I just wipe the phone and start over.
That stresses
Just
me out
wipe it
even
and
more.
start over. So,
Jeez. Um, I've said a lot. How do we transition to closing? Or is there something else you want to talk about?
no, we just say, well, that's it for the day. I don't know if we have to do anything special for it.
All right, you want to wrap up then?
Yeah. All right, that'll be the end of our topic for the day. Thanks everyone for listening. Thanks for sticking with us. If you have any comments or feedback, we are at Coffeeside Chat on Twitter and Facebook. If you want to email us, we are at coffeesidepodcast@gmail.com. We appreciate any feedback for any of our previous episodes or this episode. So thanks again and see you next time.
Bye.
The podcast you just heard was made using Anchor. Ever thought about making your own podcast? Anchor makes it really easy for anyone to get started. It's a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing podcasts. Best of all, it's 100% free. Sign up now at anchor.fm/new. That's anchor.fm/new to get started.